Hi, this is Richard James Burgess from Audio Number and Interline Media Group. You're listening to the Your Morning Coffee podcast with my friends Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart. Weekly music news for the new music business.
From John Blistein at Rolling Stone, fake as the wannabe rock star accused of scamming streamers.
And from Ashley King from Digital Music News, Suno is the Ozempic of the music industry, the CEO says. Everybody's on it and nobody wants to talk about it.
And from our friend Glenn Peoples, where will Spotify's Q4 2025 monthly active users land? The week in prediction markets. Ooh, wow. Well, we have so much to talk about. I am actually not even home. I am in a hotel doing this. So we're glad you're here. We're going to start the show right about now.
Stand by for transmission.
This is London calling.
Wake up! The revolution is at hand! Your morning coffee is on the air. 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 On the air.
Standing by.
Your morning coffee, the weekly music news for the new music business. It's the highly curated, agitated, advocated, moderated, and liberated digital music information that you need to know. We are your digital music authority. And now from our studios in Hollywood, California, here's your hosts, Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
Jay, it is so good to see you, my friend, on a weekend morning as we do our show. How are you, my friend?
Doing very well, and you are at NAMM. I can't wait to get an update from you.
Yeah, having a really good time. Of course, that's the National Association of Music Merchants. It is a 125-year-old. They're having their 125th anniversary of the trade show, and having fun, meeting a lot of friends, seeing a lot of mutual friends. Actually, a lot of people that said to say hello to you, and
Nice.
having a great time down here. It's really fun. So heading out though today.
Excellent.
Heading back home. Yes.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it. I went last year and had a great time. I did a little speaking thing, and it's just so much fun to see all the people and all the different instruments and all the different panels and discussions. So I can't wait to get a recap.
Yes, I will give it to you shortly. By the way, our friend Dr. Richard James Burgess, who spent a decade running A2IM, now he and his son Ace have officially launched two music-focused companies that use analytics to assess catalog value and recover unpaid royalties for independent artists and acquisition funds. The new ventures are Audio Number and Interline Media Group, and that was he doing the show intro.
Yeah, we dig him, and we wish them nothing but success as we go forward here. Here's some things that we found interesting in the news this week. The first one was from Daniel Tenser at Music Business Worldwide. Half of all paid music streams globally still take place in just 4 countries. And other highlights from Luminate's latest report. So the total number of audio streams worldwide reached another record high in 2025, and that's according to data from market research firm Luminate. But new figures from the company reveal extreme concentration in the geographical source of those streams on a paid subscription basis.
Right. Just 4 countries, the United States, Mexico, Brazil, and Germany, accounted for nearly half of all premium streams globally in 2025, says Luminate's data. The U.S., the world's largest recorded music market, represented 31% of paid streams worldwide.
Yeah, and don't miss our special episode with Jamie Markinette from Luminate, and he breaks all this down for us. Some other news, U.S. and China sign off on that TikTok deal finally. The U.S. and Chinese governments have finally signed off on a deal that'll hand control of TikTok's U.S. arm to a group of investors led by tech giant Oracle and investment firm Silver Lake, and that's according to a White House official and a person familiar with the matter.
Yeah, the move comes in response to a 2024 law requiring China-based parent company ByteDance to sell TikTok to resolve concerns about its alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, very interesting. There was a piece on LinkedIn that I found. It was by Louis Vandemel. I think that's how you pronounce that. And it was called The Difference Between Spotify and TikTok Explained, and it had some really interesting points. So he starts off with Spotify, where the song is the currency. It's distributed via playlists, right? It cares if you like content, and it needs time to build confidence. That's its popularity index.
Right. With TikTok, well, the sound is the currency. It's distributed via videos. Of course, multiple derivatives carry multiple videos. It only cares if you're interested, and it moves immediately.
Yeah, and I thought this was really interesting, Mike. 40% of TikTok content is modified, sped up, slowed down, mashups, 40%. That's why music travels faster there. More versions equals more chances for the algorithm to find the right audience.
Wow. Well, and on Spotify, you have one master recording, of course, sitting in a queue with 1 million other songs released that week. On TikTok, you have an army of derivatives all competing to find different audiences simultaneously.
Right. And finally, he goes on to say that the problem, well, those derivatives can't be monetized. Well, not yet. The creator who made the viral version gets nothing in perpetuity. No incentives to keep promoting. That's about to change in 2026. We'll be seeing a lot more artists releasing derivatives based on superfan engagement.
Wow, interesting. Another interesting piece from Charlie Fink over at Forbes. 11 Labs launches AI music platform, enters race with Suno and Udio. So 11 Labs is expanding beyond voice generation with the launch of 11 Labs Music. That's a new AI platform designed to create fully original studio quality music. The company is debuting the product alongside the 11 album, a multi-artist release intended to demonstrate how the system works in professional, rights-controlled settings.
Right. He goes on to write that the move places 11 Labs directly in competition with Suno and Udio, 2 startups that have gained rapid traction by allowing users to generate complete songs from text prompts. 11 Labs is positioning its offering a little bit differently, emphasizing artist participation, ownership, and commercial control rather than consumer scale or viral distribution.
Right. The 11 Labs album features original tracks created with 11 Labs music by a group of established musicians, producers, and AI native artists, including Liza Minnelli, Art Garfunkel, Michael Feinstein, and Brazilian producer Conzilla. Each artist released their work independently through their own channels and retains full ownership and streaming revenue. That's according to the company.
Yeah, 11 Labs music is designed to generate full compositions from text prompts with tools for editing lyrics, timing, and instrumentation. Artists can download multiple stems for further mixing and arrangement, allowing the AI-generated output to fit into conventional studio workflows. The company says the music is fully original and cleared for commercial use.
Well, a key differentiator for 11 Labs is its licensing strategy. Alongside the music platform, the company is expanding its iconic marketplace, which allows artists to license their voices or musical identities for approved projects. All requests are cleared directly with the artist or rights holder with defined compensation and usage terms.
Right. And finally, the company has also previously announced agreements with Cobalt Music and Merlin that allow represented artists and songwriters to participate in the development of 11 Labs music models and related revenue streams. 11 Labs says these partnerships are intended to establish a framework for AI music that operates under rights holder oversight rather than scraping or imitation. You can read the full story over at Forbes.com.
Wow, that is really interesting. And of course, being here at NAMM today, there lots and lots of talk about AI stuff.
I bet.
So it is everywhere. But hey, before we get rolling on the big stories, Jay, I say we thank our sponsors. We are so lucky to have them, and we certainly appreciate all the help they give us in putting on the show, including Hypebot. Since 2004, Hypebot has chronicled the new music industry and the trends and technologies that are changing how music is discovered, consumed, marketed, and monetized. It is edited daily by founder Bruce Houghton with help from Jeremy Young. Hypebot is published and supported by live music discovery and marketing platform Bands in Town.
Yeah, we love Bands in Town. Now over 100 million live music fans trust Bands in Town to get personalized concert alerts, recommendations, and messages from their favorite artists. It's the #1 artist services platform, if you don't know, connecting over 700,000 artists with their superfans. So managers, labels, agencies, and artists access their own dashboard to manage and promote their tour dates to over 4 billion music fans across all platforms.
And every week when you say 4 billion, I still go, man, that's a big number. But I get to hang out every week with my good friend Jay Gilbert, and that is why I enjoy doing this show. He is a music industry consultant. He's the curator of the weekly Your Morning Coffee newsletter and a former executive with Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music Groups. And let me tell you, Jay, I've seen a couple of Gibson guitars that would look really good in your living room over here.
Yeah, I would love if you would bring a couple of those home for me. You know, I get to do this show every week with my good friend Mike Etchart. I wish I was at NAMM this week with him. He's the longtime host of Sound and Vision Radio, formerly of SST Records, Warner Music, Capitol and EMI, and Universal Music Group.
Yes, indeed, EO. All right, well, I say we jump into the stories, Jay. The first one, it's from John Blistein over at Rolling Stone. Fake as the wannabe rock star accused of scamming streamers. So the article tells the story of Mike Smith, a suburban dad and aspiring musician who allegedly engaged in streaming fraud, generating approximately $10 million in bogus royalties.
Right. Initially, Smith found some success with his own music, including a hit song titled You're My Kind of Beautiful. However, in 2017, he reportedly began using fake accounts and bots to artificially inflate his streaming numbers on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. And over several years, he created as many as 10,000 bot accounts to accumulate millions of streams for his music, which included AI-generated tracks.
Well, and Mike Smith is accused of using bot accounts to artificially inflate streaming numbers for his music, allegedly generating over $10 million in fraudulent royalties between 2017 and 2024. This makes him the first person in the U.S. to face criminal charges related to streaming fraud.
So we begin. So Smith utilized his wealth from various business ventures, including urgent care facilities, to manipulate the music business. He created a facade of success by collaborating with well-known artists and pushing for radio airplay while simultaneously engaging in fraudulent activities to boost those streaming numbers.
And the fraudulent streams not only enriched Smith, but also negatively affected legitimate artists by taking a share of the streaming revenue pool. Estimates suggest that a significant percentage of all streams could be fraudulent, leading to substantial financial losses for genuine musicians.
Right. Smith allegedly leveraged artificial intelligence to create a vast catalog of music, further complicating the landscape of streaming fraud. The use of AI-generated tracks appears to be a strategic move to evade detection by spreading fake streams across numerous songs. His indictment highlights vulnerabilities in the music streaming ecosystem and raises questions about accountability within the music industry.
Right. Well, the case may prompt a reevaluation of how streaming platforms and rights holders combat fraud and protect the integrity of artist royalties in the digital age.
Yeah, $10 million.
That is unbelievable, man.
Crazy.
And there was another story we had, man, it's been a couple of years of not quite this large, but of a similar ilk. And It's when there's money to be made, you can just guarantee that people will out there try to get their hands on it. So,
right. And as this piece points out, it's not just the $10 million that he gained. It's that's coming from other artists.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
so
taken from someplace.
Yeah. Super interesting.
Yeah. Our next article, it's from Ashley King over at Digital Music News. Suno is the Ozempic of the music industry, CEO says. Everybody's on it, and nobody wants to talk about it. So Suno CEO Mikey Schulman says his company offers an efficiency many professionals across the music industry are already using, but are reluctant to admit.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, a lot of people sent me notes this week when they saw the newsletter and said, that is the headline of the week. That is a good one. So, rapidly growing AI music company Suno is now valued at around $2.45 billion, and that's having attracted major Silicon Valley investment over its ability to generate full songs from simple text prompts. And of course, as you and I talk about, it does much more than that. It's becoming sort of a digital audio workstation. In a new interview, CEO Mikey Schulman explains why he believes his company represents the future of music rather than a threat to its very existence, describing Suno as the Ozempic of the music industry, positing that everybody's on it, but nobody wants to talk about it.
So according to Schulman, Suno was designed not as a replacement for artists, but as a tool that makes music creation more accessible, speeds up workflows, and allows people to play with music rather than just play it. He argues that technology has always driven musical change from drum machines to digital audio workstations, and insists that even in the AI era, those who want to make the best music in the world will still need to spend thousands of hours honing their craft.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that Suno has only agreed to a deal with Warner Music Group so far, and litigation with the other majors, it's still very much alive and well. But Schulman has claimed that Suno trains its models on medium and high-quality music we can find on the open internet. He has sort of skirted around the issue of copyright on the open internet, calling it a different thing, and explaining that he couldn't get into too many specifics due to these ongoing legal issues.
Right. Well, Suno's primary strategy going forward is to neutralize, legal and reputational risk by striking licensing deals with more major rights holders. With its high-profile agreement with Warner Music presented as a template for coexistence between labels and AI firms, still the specifics of that deal remain opaque, which remains a concern for creatives and rights holders alike.
Yeah, and on the topic of whether Suno and its ilk will ultimately flood streaming platforms with quote-unquote AI slop that we've been reading about, which will erode the perceived value of music, making it harder for authentic human artists to stand out. Schulman counters that the definition of AI slop is subjective.
So he said, I made a really funny song with my 4-year-old yesterday morning. That is slop to you. You don't care about it, but I love it. It's fantastic. He said, stressing that music generated by Suno can be extremely high quality, but the personal worth of a given track doesn't negate the reality of AI-powered music flooding the market.
Yeah, he goes on to write that French streaming service Deezer, claims that more than a third of music delivered to its platform each day is AI generated, the equivalent of around 50,000 tracks. That's incredible. And 70% of streams on AI music on Deezer, he says, are fraudulent, meaning that bots are employed to manipulate stream counts for royalty payouts.
Right. They write, Deezer has started tagging AI tracks to alert otherwise unsuspecting users. Meanwhile, Bandcamp recently announced its move not to platform music generated wholly or in substantial part by AI.
Yeah, and I would only stress that, Suno is going down a different path than 11 Labs and Udio in that it's that GAW that we talked about, that GAW, right, Mike? That generative audio workstation. And it's becoming, as he points out in this piece, really more of a tool, like a studio music creation tool, and less about the generating music with a text prompt. But he makes a really good point about creating that song with his 4-year-old. I was talking to the head of the music program for a local college, and he made a track that introduced everyone in his class with Suno. In the song, it introduced every person and something personal about them. And yeah, that's considered AI slop if he were to put that, say, on digital service providers, but it's still pretty fun for him.
And I did the same thing when I was taking that class at UCLA. For my professor said something funny about him being cheap, and I corrected him and I said, "No, don't you mean you're frugal?" And so as a final, I did a little song called "Frugal Not Cheap," and he just loved it and thought it was hysterical. And I mean, it took me all of 6 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It's shockingly easy, but it was fun. It was just kind of a party trick, essentially. But yeah, and it's it's easy to kind of condemn AI in general, but there's so many flavors of it. You really have to kind of dig down and kind of explain kind of all the nuances of the different programs and all the things they can do. And it can be an unbelievably helpful tool when you're composing and writing and doing things in the studio.
Yes,
so
sir.
We'll see where it goes. Our final story, by the way, it's from our friend Glenn Peoples for his Needle Drop Substack. Where will Spotify's Q4 2025 monthly active users land? The week in prediction markets.
Yeah, we talked about this before we hit record, just how interesting these prediction markets are and how they've sort of skated around, just basic gambling apps. So what are prediction markets? These are things that, like Kalshi, Polymarket, and even FanDuel is now involved in it. And prediction markets are exchange-traded platforms where you can buy and sell contracts based on the outcome of real-world events like elections, sports results, economic trends, basically anything you can bet on. They function like stock markets with sort of yes or no bets where prices reflect the collective, and the real-time probability of that event occurring. But it's, I'm not a gambler, but I really enjoy looking at Kalshi and watching what people are wagering on and sort of what that knowledge of the mob is today.
Well, and it just seems like it just popped up, and at least on my personal radar, I've just kind of really in the last couple of months have started paying attention to it. In the article, Glenn writes, thanks to online prediction markets, you can bet on just about everything these days. Have a feeling that President Trump will capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro? Somebody guessed correctly or had insider information and made a cool $400,000. You can bet on various music and music industry outcomes as well.
Yeah, over at Polymarket, there's an 84% chance right now that Spotify will report more than 745 million monthly active users for the end of Q4 2025. Spotify's guidance in its Q3 2025 earnings report was 745 million, right on the nose. So the bet is whether Spotify will exceed its guidance. That guidance is a 32 million increase from 713 million monthly active users at the end of Q3 2025, which was 17 million more than Q2 2025's 696 million.
Well, Glenn writes, while 32 million might seem overly optimistic, even given the previous 3 quarterly increases, Q4s typically have the biggest gains of the year due to holiday marketing and user engagement that's driven by the increasingly popular Spotify Wrapped campaign. In the 2 previous Q4s, Spotify added 28 million, that's Q4 of 2024, and 35 million in Q4 of 2025 monthly active users.
Yeah, so it's not that big of a stretch, this bet, right? So Glenn writes that in general, companies are conservative with their guidance, so investors are not disappointed. Makes sense. Investors expect companies to reach their guidance numbers and often punish those that don't. Spotify tends to meet or exceed its monthly active users' guidance. The company sometimes misses guidance due to deliberate reductions in marketing, but the fourth quarter isn't one of those times typically. A link to this post by Glenn Peoples is in your morning coffee, and I highly encourage you to take a look at it. But yeah, these predictive markets, they haven't been around that long. I learned about them through Scott Galloway's podcast, and I've been following them for a little less than a year. But I love going on there and just seeing, who do they think is going to win the NFC Championship game, or what do they think is going to happen with inflation, or it's sort of that mob mentality, but it's people who are putting money down. So it's super interesting.
It is interesting, but boy, it's kind of, as we talked, before we hit record, it's kind of scary too. And it is not my thing to gamble, but boy, it is so popular now. And we were talking about, we're big sports fans, and the sports gambling is just such a massive business.
Yeah.
But I'm just tired of hearing about it, and it's well, it is what it is. It's here and it's not going away. But on that note, let us wrap up the show. We do want to thank everyone for listening. Jay and I certainly appreciate it. We do want to thank our sponsors, our good friends over at Hypebot and Bands in Town. Man, we couldn't do it without him. Music by the Licorice Quartet. And by the way, if you just tell one friend if you enjoy the show, Jay and I would certainly appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
So on behalf of the man himself, Jumpin' Jay Gilbert, I am Mike Etchart. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week on the Your Morning Coffee Podcast.
You've been listening to Your Morning Coffee, the weekly music news program for the new music business. Join Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart next time for the digital music news you need to know.